Hello, everybody, and welcome to ME735, Emerging Media Law and Regulation. I am Professor or Dr. Jonathan Lilly, and it's my honor to be teaching this course for the first time. I've taught media law at University of Hawaii and Shaw University a long time ago, and I have modules on copyright and privacy law and other issues in other courses, but this is the first time I've taught ME735, which was created by Dr. King as one of the first courses ever offered in our Emerging Media's master's program. I have taught in the program before. I used to teach the user experience and help to design that course. But I'm excited to be teaching this course, and since it's my first time, and I think that the structure is pretty good. I've kept a lot of the resources in the overall general design that Dr. King um, created, and for that reason, you'll see some resources like this first video. This is pretty much after just looking over the site and watching my video, the one I'm doing right now. Then watch this one where Dr. King talks about why he created the course in the way it is and what the philosophy behind the flow and structure of the course is. So I've kept that in there. And so I'm just gonna, in this video, I'm gonna try to keep it under 10 minutes and just kind of go through the Moodle course and talk about the main assignments and how they work. And also, I try to focus on anything that I've changed. I've made a few changes from Dr. King, so when you watch his video, that you kind of recognize, oh, this semester we're doing things a little bit differently. So I want to highlight those so you're not confused. So in terms of office hours, this is an online course. Email is the best way to contact me. And if you want to, I put my phone number in here. But if you call me out of the blue, I might not answer because, as many people do, I got a lot of spam phone calls. So maybe send me a text first or an email and let me know. We'll kind of set up a phone call. And I also do Zoom video calls with students as well. Okay, let's get into the course, and I've created these toggles to make it a little bit easier because there's a lot of stuff here in the course. As you see here, after week 1, it's a module-based course, and so we'll be having 5 topical modules that, and for most of those, the type of assignments within each one will be the same. So for this week, there's a couple things you want to do immediately. Just make sure you read through these Word documents, and I've gone through and edited any that need to be changed from what how Dr. King had it, and they kind of give more explanation. Like I said, I don't want to make like a 40-minute video of explaining how things work, so just go through and make sure you're familiar with how the grading work and the discussion board assignments. And in this video, I'll come back to some of these. For one of the first things you want to do, it's one of the first link here, is to sign up for to be a module discussion leader for one module, and then to be a news leader for a module. And this is just using the wiki tool, and I use that because you can anyone could come in and edit anything. So it's very slow right now. So there's 5 modules here, and so the first thing you want to do is maybe go through, and the reason why I made it so that you could choose yourself is because I thought there might be certain modules that people might gravitate more, might already have an interest in. So for example, if you know that you are interested in copyright, which is the focus of module 2, then you could go in and be discussion leader. So you would be responsible for probably reading a little bit early, and you could have more than one post in the discussion forum where you're really trying to get things moving. And the way that the course is generally designed, and one of the things that attracted me to it, is that when I saw it instantly, I said to myself, oh, this is a seminar. So when I was getting my master's and my PhD, probably about maybe not half, but maybe a third of the courses were seminar courses, where basically you once a week for about 2.5 hours you would sit down with the other students, and usually there was only maybe like 10 or 12 students and the professor, and you would just talk about the reading. And at the beginning of the course, the professor would give you this gigantic binder full of copied uh, articles and essays and probably a few books that you had to pick up, and a schedule of what the reading is. And then once a week, and you would just read and read and read, and then once a week we would get together and you would just talk about them. So this is basically kind of the structure that Dr. King had in mind. So look, all these readings, all these readings, all these readings, and at the bottom of each module you have a discussion board. And in the discussion board, the discussion leaders for that module are supposed to start out with, here's some of the things that I'm thinking about, and kind of go in depth. And at the very top under resources, it kind of gives a few more guidelines for the discussion leaders and how the flow of the discussion is supposed to go. But basically, the idea is that over usually about 10 days, 2 weeks, for each discussion forum, kind of a discussion ensues over the reading, and different people have different interests and different points, and that all happens in the module discussion board for each module. Then after that's over, let me close that, toggle up. At the top here under course resources, you see the summary discussion board. And so this is one activity that's outside of each module. So at the end of each module, after the discussion is over, then you'll be asked to write an essay kind of summarizing what you think the key issues are for this particular topic. And 500, 600 words ends up being like about 2 pages if you were going to print it out. And so I've already created a discussion where to post them for module 1. So you'll come in here, you'll click on my discussion, my thread, and just make it a reply. So at the end there'll be 17 replies to this post here, and then you just copy and paste your summary of what you learned in that module here. And so as we go through, there'll eventually will be 5 of these posts by me, and then 17 replies to each one. So those 2 activities, the discussion and then the summary at the end of the modules, are, I'd say, along with the reading, is like 80% of the work in this this course. Let's see, where am I at? Okay, so and again, these Word documents give a little bit more detailed instructions for what we're looking for in each one of these assignments. So since I'm talking about that, so along with the reading, each module will have a certain number of people assigned to be do the news wiki. And again, that was up here. So when you sign up, I would recommend, so let's say you wanted to do copyright. All you have to do is go to edit and then add your name in here. So this one I've asked for there to be 4 discussion leaders. And so my recommendation is that I would not sign up to be the module discussion leader and one of the news assignment leaders for the same module, just because it would be a lot of work. I'm not saying it can't happen. If you end up doing that, I mean, that's fine. If there's a topic that really, really interests you, well, that's fine. But my recommendation is for it to be in a different module. So again, you're going to do each one once. So you're only a discussion leader once. You're only a news leader once. Let's see, how do I get out of here? Okay, so all right, yeah. So sign up for that, and the way. Okay, so let me show you what will the news leaders do. The news leaders. Let's go back to we were talking about module 2, or actually the module 1. all the reading, all the reading. So at the bottom are the two activities. So the discussion that everyone's going to be participating in, especially the discussion leaders, and then the news wiki. So those three people who signed up for this module to be the news leaders will be responsible for trying to keep up with or find current events associated with that topic. So let's say there was a big copyright case in the news, then you would come in here, and the way these are designed, so each page is basically like a topic. So maybe you find a big copyright thing that's in the news, and then someone else, one of the other news leaders, finds a issue with piracy with China, maybe with movie piracy in China and having to do with negotiations for a trade deal, and they post on that. So if you're not a discussion or a news leader for Module 1, you can still come in here and create a page, and then in the page say, hey everybody, I found this interesting topic, and maybe put the link in there that you all might want to look into. And so that could be a way for the rest of us to help the news leaders to find some stories. Like for a couple of years ago, net neutrality, for example, was a huge in the news, and so that for that module, with a really big issue, maybe the three people are just like adding all sorts of stuff associated with this one really big story, or maybe there end up being 5 or 6 separate pages of different stories associated with news in that module. So that's what we're looking for the news wiki assignment in each module. We have here, I'm going to get to week 1 in a second. So after week 1, which is basically this week, ending basically a week from today, let's see, I guess that would be the 20th. And then we'll start with module 1. And so with that involved, I gotta move 1 second to get my power cord. There is, under resources, a schedule. So yeah, so you'll probably want to look at this fairly often, and it kind of gives an overview of what we're doing. Like I said, I'm about to talk about week 1, and then and the way it's structured is, so you can get into, let's say this week you have a light week, and officially Module 1 hasn't started yet, right? But you can go in and start to get into the reading, especially if you are one of the discussion leaders for that module. And you could just go ahead and start the reading and get it going. And then you could be a little bit better prepared. Sorry, for some reason my power cord's not working on my computer's. Oh, there we go. And so basically the date here is I want the discussions to wrap up by this date. But if you're a discussion leader, you know, even though Module 1 hasn't even started yet, if it works for your schedule to begin some of the reading and start jotting down and writing some of your observations, then go ahead and post even before the module has started. You can post in that discussion forum and kind of get the ball rolling. So this is the date when it needs to be, the discussion is going to be done by. And so that's not just the discussion leaders, but everybody chiming in according to the instructions. And then basically, and usually this will be on a Monday, and then basically you'll have until the next Friday, so that the work week, to write and to post your summary essay. And again, if let's say you got, you could kind of post this essay early, and then you could jump into early the Module 2 reading. So there's really no kind of regulation of when you can start the reading for the next module early. It's just kind of when things need to wrap up. And that's the case, like, spring break happens in early March, and then early April, Easter break. And so for some of those, like, I've kind of added in extra days to make sure everything needs to be, you have time to wrap everything up. And then the last day for the last module's essay or summary essay is the first day of May, and then 1 week later is the final exam question, which is a larger essay that you will be asked to do. We'll talk about that later as we get closer to it. So again, this is the link to just find the general schedule, and I will try to send out an email every Sunday or Monday to just kind of remind you and to reiterate what's going on, and so I will kind of act in that role too, so you don't necessarily always happen to be going back to look at that that schedule. Okay, so then let's talk about. Oh, and then I will be posting my own kind of summary video at the end of each module as well, so that you can refer to that, especially for the final exam. So week 1, what are we supposed to be doing this week? So a couple things. I looked and looked and looked and tried to find like a kind of article or a textbook introduction or something that kind of gave an overview of all of these kind of diverse and broad topics that we're going to be covering, and I couldn't really find anything that satisfied me. And as I was looking at Dr. King's his course, he had linked in here a video that some of his students made from a few years back. And it is
study from the University
36 minutes long, but I thought it was like a really good.
Citations were appropriate. The presenters for this final video essay include myself, Bridget Hamilton, Reagan Warfield, Molly Witt, Tess Louth, and Megan Riley.
One major issue that thought leaders must understand is the impact that law and regulation can have on both innovation and the public interest.
Yeah, so anyway, they chose to do this as their final exam. So rather than having to write a big essay at the end to answer the final exam question, they chose to do this video. And I looked at it and I thought it was great. And kind of it overviews all the modules, and they cite some of the specific papers, readings that some ideas came from. And so what I want you to do, and this, again, it's right here, and this is all under the week 1 tab. So watch that video, okay, and this is kind of just getting you primed up for the semester, and also getting you primed up for this preliminary final exam question that and what that is Dr. King's idea is that he wants you to kind of be able to see all you've learned from the beginning of the semester to the end. And so the preliminary final exam question is, let's see, I'm going to go back up and make sure that the question is actually right there, but it's at the top of the module too, right here. So what are the key media laws and regulation issues that interest you the most, or you think are the most pressing, and how have these issues changed in response to emerging media? And this can be a little bit anxiety causing, right? Because you haven't taken the course yet, right? So it's asking a lot for you to just come up with this response. But again, I do think it is a good idea because you're going to basically answer the same question in more detail with all the information you have, everything you've learned for the final exam at the end of the semester. So, but to get you primed up to answer this at the end of this week, this is actually due a week from today, you watch the video, and then what I want you to do is come through here, and I put a link to the AEJMC conference media law and policy abstracts. And what this is like the premier academic conference in journalism, mass communication studies, and so I've done it for 3 years. And so if you click on here and open up a new window, And you can see there's all these papers here. And so don't get overwhelmed, because I don't expect you to read every single one. But let's say you're interested in fair use, right? And so here's a topic here on fair use. And so I might just browse through, so I'm interested in fair use, which is associated with copyright, and kind of just read through a few of these abstracts. And the idea here is that you get a sense of the really current event or current status of what scholars and thought leaders are really thinking about in terms of the impact of media law and regulation um, on emerging media and on our the world that we live in. So, and I've given you 3 links here. And again, do not read every single one. If you read one, you're like, what is that? Or it doesn't interest you, then just go on to the next one. And if you browse these for about half an hour, that would be fine. And then I feel like you would be ready to answer that question, of answer the preliminary final exam question and post your answer here. So that's due a week from today, next Monday. And then I've given you a few more days to come into Flipgrid to just do a quick introduction of yourself, and and to give a summary of your answer in video format. And what Flipgrid is, I think it's kind of an improvement of VoiceThread. It does things a little bit differently, but I've never had students have any problems with it. Actually, I do have a little problem, and you'll see that here when I click on this link. So everyone should go to log in with Microsoft, and that's because if you have your Loyola email, you're already logged in on your computer, then the Loyola email system is all run through Microsoft Outlook. And so if you're logged in, now this won't probably work for me right now because my wife has a Hotmail account that she sometimes uses, and it really hates that. So let's see. Okay, yeah, so it said, oh, you're not allowed to use it with Hotmail, and I don't have a Hotmail account, so I don't know what the deal is with that, but what I've done is I've just copy and paste this URL, and I put it into Firefox or another browser, and then it brings me right to it. So for these, it's